And then number 1 for top hotspots goes to... What's up, everybody? It is a cold and rainy day today here in Utah. I'm on the banks of Utah Lake. You can't see it right now because it's behind all of this foliage, but we are out here birding today. Now today, I thought it would be a great idea to go over the top 10 birding hotspots that I visited in 2024. So let's go birding and find some birds, and let's also talk about the top 10 hotspots that I enjoyed this year. To start off today's video, just picked up a northern flicker up in a tree. Lighting's pretty bad today because we are overcast, and again, it is raining. So hopefully we got some birds to film today. Let's see what else we can find. All right, so at number 10 for the top 10 hotspots that I visited this year, we have Big Bear. This is in Southern California. It is a small little mountain range that does get some snow in the winter, but Big Bear has to sit at number 10. We picked up some amazing species there this year, including things like the white-headed woodpecker, one of my lifers of the year. It also has amazing scenery and trees everywhere, acorn woodpeckers, western bluebirds, just an amazing place. It also has a giant lake called Big Bear Lake, which was also really fun to bird around. I highly recommend just the various different hotspots within Big Bear, especially if you're in the area. You can pick up some really unique stuff for Southern California there. And as always, with this list, this was based off of a species count. So, how many species did I get at particular hotspots within the year, but also just the overall experience and the scenery that was surrounding me. So Big Bear sits at number 10. All right, I got beautiful Utah Lake here behind me. At number 9 is Bountiful Pond. This is a spot that I just started birding this year, but it's one of the spots that I have the most species at now in one hotspot. It's also the area that we did my annual bright-eyed birding walk at, and we were able to find barn owls this year, so that was absolutely incredible. It has a beautiful lake and kind of a walk-around path, so I highly recommend Bountiful Pond if you're in the area. Sitting at number 9, Bountiful Pond. All right, so number 8 on my list is San Joaquin Marsh. Now this place, we didn't necessarily get a ton of species there, but we got some really good quality, including my lifer yellow-crowned night herons, and just like really cool stuff like black skimmers, my lifer swinhose wide-eye, which is an introduced species to California. And it's not like a massive area either, but there's a high density of birds in that area. Green herons we got there this year, just amazing birds in such a small pop of area. This is in Irvine, California. Again, all of these locations will be put up on the screen so you can see where they're at. But just an amazing group of birds here. I highly recommend San Joaquin Marsh if you are in the Irvine area. Picked up a few more species. The problem is right now the rain is coming down and it's supposed to rain all day long. So I might do a few more filmings of birds here, and there was a ton of action back at my parents' house at the feeders. Cedar waxwings, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So maybe I'll go film birds there where it's a little bit more dry. I don't want to ruin all the equipment today. But we did pick up some American coot out on the water, swimming kind of on a rough Utah Lake shore. And then we also picked up some mallards, of course, sitting on the banks out there just before getting into the water. And then lastly, picked up some killdeer, all reliable species in the area. So good to pick up those common birds as well. Alrighty, so number 7 on the list now is San Jacinto Wildlife Refuge. Now this place is also in Southern California, and it's got so much water out there for birds. We saw a whole bunch of cool stuff, including my lifer common gallinule, a bird that I had been searching for quite a long time. Super happy to pick up that bird there. But it's just a whole bunch of individual ponds. There were eared grebes out there. There was so much variety, tons of shorebirds as well. And honestly, it was one of those drive auto loops, so you can cover a lot of ground and get a ton of birds. Variety of duck species were there, including cinnamon teals. I highly recommend San Jacinto Wildlife Refuge. It was an amazing time, and we got a ton of species in just one trip. I think we got over 50 species in just like a couple hours while we were there. So definitely worth your time if you can make a trip out there. Just picked up a few more species. American robin over here, and then I believe maybe a species of goldfinch. I couldn't really get a good look at it. The lighting is terrible out here because it's overcast, and honestly it's kind of just overall wet and miserable and cold. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here at the park here. And then talk about the last 5 hotspots of the year back at the house, because there's a ton of bird action going on at the feeders, and I want to feature some of those birds on the channel as well. But before we do that, let's talk about number 6 on the list, which is Tony Grove Lake. Tony Grove Lake is in my home county of Cache County, and it's by far my favorite place to go birding in Cache County. It's high elevation, so you get species like Clark's nutcracker we've seen up there, but also it's just beautiful scenery with that beautiful lake. I got to go up there with Joaquin, my friend, and Bird once, and that was a lot of fun as well. So just an overall great experience Tony Grove Lake is. They have a great high elevation birds, and I just enjoy birding in the mountains. Honestly, I think it's my favorite type of birding. So we're gonna take a quick break, and I want to make a special announcement real quick, and then we'll be back at the house and talk about the last 5 birding hotspots for 2024, so stick around. All right, so back at the house now, nice and dry. Quick intermission and a special announcement. We have our first flock of merch dropping. So flock 1 drops this Friday at 7 a.m. and it's called Flock 1 Blackbirds. Now what's amazing about this is we have 3 blackbird species featured in this merch during this time. The first one, which is my personal favorite, is the yellow-headed blackbird. And this design is absolutely incredible. On the front of the shirt is the yellow-headed blackbird male with king symbols next to it. It's supposed to represent a playing card, and on the back of the shirt or pullover or whatever you choose is the queen, which is the female yellow-headed blackbird, which is absolutely incredible. Maddie, my sister, who you've seen on the channel before, put in 4 months of work to these designs and did an amazing job on this stuff. Like, she went berserk in designing some of this stuff. We also have a yellow-headed blackbird embroidered hat and shirt if you like simpler designs as well. Those are incredible, and we also have the design featured on a mug front and back with the king and queen cards. So amazing stuff with the yellow-headed blackbirds. Also, I think some other random stuff like tote bags and stuff as well. The next bird featured is the Brewer's blackbird, and Maddie did such an intricate design for this one. It looks absolutely incredible. We have a front and back shirt for that one as well. And then lastly, probably the fan favorite, the red-winged blackbird design. We have embroidered hats and shirts for that one as well as an amazing graphic tee design and pullover design as well. So those will go live on my shop on Friday. If you use the code Blackbird at checkout, you get 10% off before shipping costs. And that sale will go from Friday for Black Friday all the way till the end of Monday. And all of this goes back to supporting the channel as well as my sister's art. So without further ado, let's get back to the top 10 birding hotspots of 2024. Now that I said that there was so much bird activity, there's no birds back there. Wonderful, but I do have the camera ready in case I see anything. At number 5 is in southern Utah, in St. George, Utah. It is known as Tonaquint Nature Center. Now this place is absolutely incredible. I found such amazing birds while there. It was my first and only scarlet tanager of the year. Also, you can see wood ducks there, which is my favorite duck on the planet. I also got my camera lifer orange-crowned warbler while there, as well as really good shots of Cooper's hawks, great horned owls, and my only ever camera, well, Utah camera, greater roadrunner as well. So that place was incredible. I highly recommend Tonaquint Nature Center. You can see some amazing birds there and honestly some super unique species. Next on my list is Lee K Ponds. Now this is right across the street from a landfill in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's an absolutely amazing place to see waterfowl and various gull species as well, especially in the winter. You can see some really unique gull species there. There were also burrowing owls there at one point as well. And it's just an overall good place. If you want to establish yourself a solid list in the state of Utah and you want to be close to the airport, Lee K Ponds is the spot for you. You can rack up numbers like 40, 50 species at some points of the year, and it's really close to the airport. So if you have a layover in Utah, you can build up your Utah list without really having to go too far from your airport. Now, number 3 is a place that I went to last year and got a ton of lifers at the first time I was there. This year, only got 1 or 2 lifers there while I was there, but that's Bolsa Chica. Bolsa Chica is absolutely amazing. It's adjacent to the beach, but it's inland. So you have different species than you would have at the beach, and also a whole bunch of species that you would have at the beach there as well. This year I picked up my lifer surf scoter, which absolutely was incredible. Was super happy to pick up that bird climbing up onto the shore. It features birds, a whole bunch of different tern species. You can get brown pelicans, you can get American white pelicans as well. It's a really good spot for things like whimbrel and long-billed curlews. In the winter, it features a ton of duck species. And last year it was just incredible. I got crazy things like Eurasian widgeon, redheads, even a common loon skimming across the water. So that was pretty cool. And then it also has a really healthy population of like reddish egret, great egret, snowy egret, and great blue heron as well. So just an incredible place to find birds. I would highly recommend it if you're in the California area, just because you can find such incredible species in a really not that big of an area. It is a pretty large area, but it's not that big considering how many species you can find there. Usually, even in the off season, in the middle of the day, I was getting 45 plus species. Last year, I got 60 plus species. That place is incredible. Sitting at number 2 is the Bear River Migratory Refuge. Now, this is also an auto loop. It's 12 miles of dirt road, and it just goes straight through wetland after wetland, pond after pond, and in some cases, some big lakes there as well. You can find incredible species like yellow-headed blackbirds, American avocets as well. Marsh wrens are absolutely everywhere during some points of the year. American white pelicans are flying all over the place. Western and Clark's grebes you can both find at this place. In the colder months, you can find snow geese and tundra and trumpeter swans as well. And then just like things that are just staples of that type of habitat, you know, like northern harriers, for example. I highly recommend Bear River Migratory Refuge. It is kind of a trip out there. You can't really go there unless you have more than a day in the state of Utah. It is in northern Utah, quite far up the state, almost to Idaho, but I would consider it one of the best places to bird by far in the state of Utah, especially if you want to get a big list of birds on your Utah list. And then number 1 for top hotspots in the state of Utah goes to Antelope Island. Now, the reason that this is at the top is 1, it's the hotspot that I have the most species on in the world, and a lot of those come from this year. Number 2, just the variety of habitats are incredible. It's not super far from the airport, maybe 30, 40 minutes. It features not only just amazing birds, but amazing creatures as well. There's American bison all over the island. You're almost guaranteed to see quite a few of those, actually. There's pronghorn antelope there. There's bighorn sheep. I've never seen them before, but I know they're out there. There's coyotes as well. I see coyotes out there quite frequently, and I just saw some on my last trip. The reason that Antelope Island is such an amazing place for birding is because the road that leads out to Antelope Island, called the Causeway, has water on both sides. So it's incredible for shorebirds, for duck species. Right now, there's tundra swans absolutely everywhere, and honestly, probably trumpeter swans too. There's American white pelicans that are all over the place. A lot of vagrant gulls show up, like Sabin's gulls during the fall when they're moving through during migration. So you get a ton of those species there. Then on the main island, in the warmer months, you have burrowing owls. I saw those several times on the channel. They're pretty easy to find too. They're just off the road, and they're little built boxes for burrowing that the state park puts into place for them. There's chukars there, which is, I know a lot of people got super excited during the Great Salt Lake Bird Festival to see chukars. So those are super, super cool as well. There's sage thrashers, which is a really cool species to get. Loggerhead shrikes are out there. I see them quite a bit when I'm out there. It's not guaranteed, but you have a really good shot of seeing loggerhead shrikes. And then there's a place on the island that you drive to. It probably takes about 30 minutes from the Causeway to get to this spot called Gar Ranch. And Gar Ranch has a high density of trees. A lot of vagrants show up there. That's where I got my black and white warbler this year. There's great horned owls there. They typically nest there. There's a resident barn owl there as well that I've never gotten on camera. So you just have this massive variety of habitat for these unique birds. And honestly, during peak migration, I think last year, without really trying, we walked away in just 4 hours with 83 species. In my opinion, this is the best birding spot in the state of Utah. And not only that, it is the best birding spot that I visited in 2024. Let me know in the comments below, what was the best birding spot that you visited this past year? And what species did you find there? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope to see you all next time on Bright Eyed Birding.